Hello and welcome to Find It, the Find It Show. How are you all doing? Thank you for being here. This is the show where we bring guests on that talk about stories, their insights, and purpose in life to help us live more fully. And tonight, I have a very special guest, a dear friend of mine. I love reconnecting this way. She's in studio right now, and she's going to give us some insight. Okay. She is an optometrist and has been for 28 years. We're going to talk all things eye health, and maybe she'll share some stories, nameless stories, of course, of some things that she's come across. This is so interesting. So I hope you ask questions, talk about your own stories, join in the conversation tonight. I'm so glad you're here where we're going to find it. And I'm going to have Dr. Patricia Haller on the screen right after her intro. Hello, how you doing, Patty?
I'm fantastic. How are you tonight?
I'm so good. Let's tell them how this all come about when I said, you need to be on my podcast. So she brought me back. We've been on a whole, the whole summer, we haven't had any podcast, but now we're back. We're with Patty, and this is what happened. I was ripping and tearing boxes from inventory from the shop, and I picked one up, and I went like this, and the edge of the cardboard went right across my eyeball. And I was like, oh, and when you do something and oh, this is not good. And I opened my eye up after I blinked, and there was light coming in, but everything was blurry. And I thought, it'll be better in a minute. It'll be better. No, it didn't get better. So I called Patty, and I realized then her office was closed on that day. And I was like, okay, I can wait until tomorrow. I can do this. No, I got so nervous. It was not getting better. It was terrifying. And so I sent her a message. I'm like, I don't want to do this, but you're not open today. And she's like, come on in. You had administrative stuff. I'm not sure you had administrative stuff.
I did.
You
I had administrative stuff. Yes.
Okay, because I was like, oh, God, love her. And I'm like, driving her. So what did I do to my eye?
So
what happened there?
You actually had what was called a corneal abrasion. And that can happen very easily because the cornea is the clear part of the front of the eye. It's like a clear dome where your contact lenses would sit if you wore contacts. Mm-hmm. And that box slit right across there and basically cut the surface of your eye. So it's called a corneal abrasion. And it had a lot of swelling around it. And that's why it was painful and it was hard for you to see. So
scared.
Wait,
first I get in there, and she has a great sense of humor. If the locals that know the Hallers, they all have this amazing sense of humor. And she's so calm. And I was like, well, she doesn't act like I'm dying, so maybe it's going to be okay. She goes, let me check in there. Let me just look in there. And she goes, oh, we'll have this fixed in a couple days. Like, you're going to be fine. And I was like, oh, thank you, God. I'm so scared. If anyone has ever done anything to your eye, you know where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
So then what did you do to me?
So basically, when I saw that was the situation, it's very uncomfortable to have your eyelid blinking across the area that has been injured. So what we do is we put a bandage contact lens on it, and that actually will sit on the surface where the scratch was so that you won't have to worry about your eyelid rubbing against the cut. And that protects it and helps it have a chance to heal. Then we gave you some drops and some medicine to put on it to make sure that it did continue to heal. And we checked it back. And fortunately, the cornea is one of the fastest healing parts of the body. So it clears up very quickly. And then by the time we came back in to be checked, we removed the bandage contact lens. And
I was amazed. And then I was talking about it because I was so grateful. And so grateful that you met me in there. So grateful the care that I received. And so I put it on my Facebook page or something. And my cousin Kim said, oh, my God, I did that last year. I had to call Patty. I'm like, what's with the Schultz girls?
It's contagious.
It's contagious.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, she's like, oh, I had to get a bandage contact lens too. Yes, we are thankful for her. This is my sister. We are. And Christy Mallow, would you say we are so blessed to have Dr. Patty Haller in our town? Oh, God, you guys, she's not going to be able to get her head out the door tonight.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
She will receive
I can tell you that I am blessed to be in this town because we are in an amazing town. We have amazing people here, and
We do. I agree.
We are very fortunate to be in a town that we're in. And so I'm the one who's blessed to be here.
Yeah. And you take care of all us crazies, don't you?
I love it. I love it.
Oh, please come through me now. All right. So I want to, let's start with, let me ask you some true or false questions. Okay.
Whoa.
So
okay.
true or false?
We're going back to high school? No.
True or false? We're going to spin the bottle later. Hold on. Okay. So true or false?
Okay.
Are brown eye, these are things we hear. We want to know. Debunk,
Sure.
Tell us the truth. True or false? Are brown eyes stronger than blue eyes?
So I would not say that they are stronger.
Okay.
I think that they do a better job of protecting from things like UV. So from that aspect, I think that brown eyes are good at protecting in that sense, but not necessarily stronger. I think that anyone can have weak eyes regardless of color.
Okay.
It just kind of depends on your genetics and kind of like if you have parents who have really bad vision, then unfortunately there's chances that the children can have really poor vision, and it's not really related to eye color. But people who have more blue or light green eyes do tend to be more sensitive to sun. And so they are more likely to end up having, unfortunately, some risks associated with UV.
UV. I know you said, well, we'll talk about this in a minute. Let's stick with true and false.
True and
so
false.
True or false?
Yes.
Does everyone need glasses when they get older?
So the technical answer to that question is yes. Okay. And the reason is that our eyes, as we age, do not focus as well as they do when we are, let's say, under the age of early to mid 40s. So the changes that take place in the eye make it to where you are not able to focus well up close. And so the majority and almost all people who hit over the age of 50 to 55 need at least reading glasses, if not some sort of prescription.
Okay. Wow.
We call that job security.
We call that job security at the optometrist.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So true or false? This is funny. David said to ask this one. He goes, you know how, and it's kind of just joking, but I don't know. Let's ask it.
Let's ask.
You know, when your kids are crossing their eyes and you say, quit crossing your eyes, they're going to stay that way. True or false?
That's false. That
so
is
I can
false.
do this all I want.
So you can do it all you want. It'll
Okay.
be perfectly fine.
Okay,
and
good.
Not a big deal. But no, that is false. Your eyes will not stick that way. I don't encourage people to do it, but they're not.
Well, wait a minute. One thing
way.
you said about as you age is it the muscle around the eye. So just like muscle laxity that we get as we age. Is
so
also-
actually internally in the eye, there's a structure called the lens, and our eye works like a camera. The light enters through the black hole in the center. That's your pupil. And the very first structure it's going to hit once the light gets in there is the lens. Mm-hmm. The lens is what focuses the light coming in to the back of the eye so that we can see. And what happens over time is that lens, which should stretch into a magnifying position for you and then go back to distance and near, kind of flexes into position the way it should. And it's done so by these structures that are called zonules that kind of pull it into that focusing position. Well, the lens kind of hardens into place, and the zonules don't stretch and do that the way they need to. So I often tell people that it's kind of like when you have to bend down or squat down and pick something up on the floor. We don't spring right back up like we did when we were 20. Yeah. And so that process becomes slower and more difficult. And as a result, you just don't focus as well as you need to.
So we need to do eye yoga is what you're saying. Now,
well,
are there exercises for eyes?
So there are exercises for eyes that help certain conditions, but there is no exercise or no cure or treatment for what's called presbyopia, which is that development of when you need to have reading glasses. There is no cure for that and no exercises that work. So if you're online and you see somebody who says, hey, you can purchase these vitamins and we will take away your need for reading glasses.
Yeah.
Not true.
Hoax.
Yeah. Hoax.
So also,
false.
What about carrots? So true or false? Eat your carrots. They're good for your eyesight.
Carrots contain beta carotene, and beta carotene is very good for your eyes. But that is still kind of a little bit of a myth that you can't sit down and eat, a bag of carrots a day and improve your nearsightedness.
You will get a little orange tint to your skin.
You do get an orange tint to your skin if you do eat too many carrots. Yes.
You want a little
the beta
carotene.
The beta carotene is good for you. But there are other things that are really healthy for your eyes. Things like lutein, which are in the leafy green vegetables like kale and spinach and all those kind of things that we just don't eat enough of. But those are some of the things that are excellent for your eyes. And so not to not eat carrots because the beta carotene is good, but you can't sit down and eat carrots, for your early life to correct your vision.
Well, I went to the optometrist and she told me I needed glasses. Right. I'm just going to eat a bowl of carrots.
I'm going to go grab the jumbo bag of carrots at Kroger so that I don't have to wear my glasses. Yeah. It's not going to work.
All right. That's great. So that was my last true or false. So it is. I mean, we do need to treat our bodies well and eat good things for all body health. But yeah, I get you. So what inspired you? What was your, the passion to go to school to become an optometrist? Was there any one thing or?
So I always felt when I was growing up that I wanted to do something in the medical field. And I wasn't sure exactly what it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And I kind of thought for a long time it was going to be a pediatrician because I absolutely love children. And as I got further into undergrad and started to think about which medicine I wanted to practice, I decided that I didn't want to limit myself to one population and that I wanted to be able to do something that had a little bit of a duality to it. Mm-hmm. And so one of the great things about my profession is that not only do we help people see by doing glasses and contacts, but we also help them to be able to have healthy eyes, and we take care of diseases and corneal abrasions when you scratch yourself with a box and that sort of thing. Happens. And so a lot of medicine is just simply providing services for healthy eyes or healthy bodies. Mm-hmm. And in our situation, we not only do that and take care of eye diseases, but we also get to do a retail aspect of it where we're selling glasses and contact lenses and giving people the best possible vision that they can. So it's a fantastic career because you have, a lot of aspects that you're treating all day, all the time.
That's awesome. And did you ever have any interest in taking over the funeral home?
It's not that I did not have an interest in it, but my older brother, for those of you who know my older brother, Mike, he knew from a young age that that's what he wanted to do.
Okay.
And so I already knew that he was going into the business by the time he was going into college. And it's not that I wouldn't have done the business. I have, I helped work in the business when I was young, especially just kind of answering phones and that sort of thing. But I knew that my dad's work was going to continue with my brother, Mike. And so I just always felt that I was called to do medicine. And that's what
I really believe, like when you're in, when you're in the funeral, what's it called?
Funeral home business.
The funeral home business. But what is Mike actually called?
He's a funeral director.
But mm-hmm. then he does the
embalming. Mm-hmm.
So all of that, you have to be kind of like the business side of it. You have to understand that.
Correct.
And you also have to understand the body and all that goes into embalming.
Correct.
So that's a lot. So I think too,
and
maybe that's been in your blood.
It has.
In your blood. It's
in my blood, in my eyes. Because that's the thing too, that not only do you have to, in my situation, be able to be the doctor, but I'm also the business manager because I own the practice. And so I have to do the business side of it and I have to hire the employees. And I do the payroll. And I've grown up in that and I have seen that happen from the time that I was little.
Yes.
And I also was very blessed to come from a family who really valued what serving others and serving our community was supposed to be. So basically, that's how I've grown up, is that you take care of people and you help people as much as you possibly can. And, there's great reward in being able to do that. And I've watched my parents and both my brothers in the funeral home and my sister as a teacher. I just think that that's one of the things that we've always kind of is done, is just try to help people. So
yeah, and you definitely do, and also in the community. So not just career wise, but outside of that, you guys have always been a huge part and loyal part of the community, and we're so blessed to have you. And we do see all of you piping in with your well wishes. Thank you guys for being here.
Yes, thank you all.
Lynn will continue to pop them up on the screen. We do see you here, but if we're really in a hot topic, we're just going to keep rolling with it. But you talk about being able to, with vision and with being an optometrist, you're able to see so many different age groups. So who is your youngest? What age is your youngest? And what age is your oldest patient? Do you know?
So that's a great question. My youngest patient is months old. We start seeing infants from the time that they are born, and we do toddlers and all that stuff. So before I answer the oldest question, I'll tell you that that's one of the things that as optometrists, we try regularly to get the word out that all children need to have their eyes examined by the age of 3. And a lot of people say, well, that can't happen. My child can't read the chart. They don't know their letters. That's not going to work. But that's a falsity in that we can actually examine children even if they cannot speak to us and if they can't read the eye chart. We have plenty of ways of being able to look in their eyes and do tests. And we basically act like we're playing games with them to be able to get the data that we need. And we can prescribe glasses and fixed vision on children as young as just a couple months old. So I encourage parents, especially for all of our mamas out there, make sure you get your children to the eye doctors by the age of 3, because we could actually cure lazy eye, which is where one eye is weak, if we could get every child to the eye doctor by the age of 3. So the connection from the eye to the brain is being established from the time they're born until they're 4 years of age. So a lot of times parents will say, well, I'm going to get my child in because I'll have the kindergarten exam before they go to kindergarten because now they know their letters. In fact, waiting until kindergarten is a little bit late. And kudos to our doctors and dentists out there. They do a great job of making sure they get to the doctor and get their immunizations early, and they get to the dentist and make sure they get their teeth examined by age 3. But we need to get them to the eye doctors by the time they're 3 so that we can get vision problems corrected and make sure that that sound connection from the eye to the brain is established. There can be subtle things that cause that. A little bit of an eye turn can do that, or a really high prescription that isn't caught can do that. And many parents will say, well, I've been watching my child and I don't see them having any eye issues, so I know their vision is fine. Well, many times if there is a weak eye, the strong eye will make up for it. And the child doesn't know that it's a weak eye, and they're not going to complain about it. They only know what they were given. And so they just try to function that way. And unfortunately, as a result, a lot of people can end up having a lazy eye. And if we can get them in there and get that fixed by straightening the eye or putting the glasses on there, that could completely go away.
So the fact that you have infants so I have more questions about that. But when you say this and you're giving me this information, is this one of the questions I have for you is, how has the field of optometry changed since you've started 28 years ago? Wow. Is that one of them? The awareness of getting them in there before?
It actually was there then, but we are better, I think, at educating people about that situation. And we now have instruments and technology that's better at obtaining that information. Gotcha. So when I first started practicing optometry, we had little handheld instruments, and we'd have to lean all the way into the patient and look through a tiny little hole, and we'd see little tiny pieces of the way the retina looked and had to kind of piece that together in our own mind. Now we have what we call wide field cameras, where you sit there and it takes a picture and we can see your entire retina in one shot. So the technology and the advancements with technology and what's coming down the road with AI and stuff, and that'll be one of the things we can talk about in a little bit as well.
Oh gosh, how is AI
incredible.
Involved? Wow.
It's incredible what we're going to be able to do as far as advancements in technology
it's AI.
go. Get it?
Dun-dun-dun.
Yeah.
Okay, so and the oldest patient?
My oldest patient, I'm happy to say, was 105 years old. Yes. And so prior to her, I had a patient that was 103. And my second patient that was 103 came in and said, "Am I your oldest patient?" And I said, "Well, close, but not yet." And she said, "How far do I have to go?"
Oh, no way. She's going to live for it.
She did. It was a challenge. It was like we laid it down. So I told her that my oldest patient was 103 and 6 months. And she said, "So I need to go to 103 and 7 months." I said, "If you want to be the oldest patient that I've seen, then yes." She said, "What do I get if I make it to 103 and 7 months?" And I said, "I'll give you a free pair of glasses." She looked at me and she said, "I won't need them then."
Oh, God. so funny. I love it. I didn't even know
she
we
made
had
it to 103 in 7 months. I gave her free pair of glasses. And not only did she keep on going, she went all the way to 105.
That's amazing.
So yeah, she was my
That
oldest
is
living
amazing.
patient. So.
Tammy is saying you helped Tori. I thought she had 20/20 vision by testing. Then she comes home with prism glasses.
Yes.
What's that?
So when we look at anybody's eyes, there's 3 things that we look at. We have to know if there is and 3 main things. There's a lot of things, but the main things we look at is, does the patient see well enough with no prescription, or do they need something in a pair of glasses to help them see distance or near? So that's the first part of it. And that's the refraction. When we look at what prescription gives the patient the best possible vision they can have. Then the second thing we have to look at is the health of their eyes and make sure that there's no signs of any eye diseases. And a lot of systemic diseases can even present through the eyes. So we can actually look in there and see signs of diabetes.
See,
and
this
high
is what kills me.
cholesterol
This is what I wanted to talk about. This is one of my big ones. You guys,
Yes.
the fact that she can look inside of your eye. You know, they say the eyes are the
window to the world.
Window to the world, into your soul.
And into your
but
soul.
She can look in there and tell so many things.
Absolutely.
Like diabetes.
Diabetes can be seen in the eye oftentimes. We can see high cholesterol in the eyes. We can see high blood pressure in the eyes. We can often see an impending cardiac event or potential stroke by looking in the eyes and the blood vessels. So one of the reasons is that the eye is the only place in the body that we can see blood vessels unless we cut into the skin. So when we look into the eye, we are actually seeing bare blood vessels that we can see a lot of things from that. We've diagnosed brain tumors by looking in there. There's just so many things that your eyes tell you about the rest of your body that getting a thorough health eye check is one of the best things that you can do for your health, because we're not just treating eyeballs, we're treating people.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing all the stuff and how it relates, and we're able to connect all those dots and make sure that people are getting taken care of. So
that's incredible.
That's one of the things it's fantastic that we can do in our job. So yeah.
What is one myth or misconception about eye health that you wish everyone knew the truth about?
Probably along those same lines, that people think that if they see okay, they don't need to see an eye doctor. And that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions that people have, is that you can have excellent vision, but still be having huge eye health problems and eye issues. And so that's one of the misconceptions that we have. And so I will have people that will say to me, or a lot when I was first starting practice, they'd say, oh gosh, if I need an eye doctor, I'd come and see you. And I'd say, well, why don't you need an eye doctor? And they'd say, well, I see fine. Well, it's a lot more than seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And so along the lines of what we were talking about before, when we said that we look at the health and we look at the prescription, but the third thing we do is we look at the function of the eyes. And that's where Tammy had commented about the prism glasses that we were talking about.
Yes.
That sometimes when your muscles don't align well in your eyes, and so here's a fact maybe a lot of people don't know, each of our eyes has 6 muscles. And those muscles are neurologically tied together, and they need to work together in order to do a lot of the things we do every single day. So for instance, we're all looking at phones, we're all looking at computers, we're all doing those things. In order for that to happen, your eyes have to come together and be able to maintain that. And then if you're reading, once we come together, we have to be able to scan left to right. Many times, children especially do not have the ability to bring their eyes together, let alone hold them together, and then they can't move them left to right.
Oh my gosh. So then a lot of kids that think, like, the parents don't think they can read very well. It may be an eye issue.
Absolutely.
I have never heard of that.
And we find this all the time.
Wow.
So a lot of times the child will come in and we'll start doing, the testing and find out that there is a muscle deviation or a muscle misalignment. And then we'll start questioning the child and the parents. Does your child struggle to read? Is it difficult for your child to get through a page? Do they want to read out loud in the classroom, or is that concerning to them? And inevitably, the child will usually say, oh, I hate to read. And, oh, I get so embarrassed if I have to read out loud. And it's not that they can't do that task from a level of intelligence or any of that. It's that their eyes are not properly functioning to do that task. And there are things that we can do to help that and make that child be able to read better.
And like you said too, the sooner the better to find these issues, like with the lazy eye. Get it in there, get it corrected before they're 4 years old.
Absolutely.
My sister was just talking about my niece had an issue with her eye that she just all of a sudden was having pain behind the eye. And she just stopped in Walmart because she doesn't take care of herself like she should. You don't, Angie. But she just was like, it must have been pretty bad for her to go in and they just looked and they said, you need to go see a surgeon. And then she had to get eye surgery because I can't remember. Vicki, you're on here. You said like Angela. So what was it that they said she had? If you can, then she can elaborate on it. What's the most seen eye issue in your practice?
So I would have to say that depending on the population that we're looking at, the most common things that we see are in the elderly population, which would be over, I would say 70 to 75, macular degeneration is very, very common. And so for people who do not know what that condition is, as we said before, your eye works like a camera and the light goes through the lens and goes to the back of the eye, which is the retina. And the most important part of your central vision is a part of the eye called the macula. And that is what helps define and see very fine, small print, especially when you're reading and looking at details. Well, just like the cameras of old time, you used to have to take out the film and replenish it with fresh new film to be able to take new pictures. And in the eye, there's a function of the retina that does that. It's supposed to destroy the old used cells and replenish it with fresh new cells instead of new film. And when that mechanism fails, then we start to develop deposits on the retina in the area of the macula that can start to destroy your central vision. And unfortunately, at this point in time, we do not have a cure for that.
Okay, so there's not anything we can do in advance to keep
So there are things you can do in advance to try to prevent them. A lot of that goes back to that healthy eating that we talked about, antioxidants, and there are some nutritional things that you can do to help prevent that. Other things you can do include not smoking.
Oh, yeah.
Because smoking can very much affect not only our own health, but our eye health especially. And in people who are smokers, that's very concerning for macular degeneration because you're decreasing the oxygen flow to that important part of the eye. And if you're doing that, it's going to make the macular degeneration worse and accelerated and faster. So in addition to that, UV protection is one of the most important things you can do to help prevent macular degeneration, because we know that UV exposure can help accelerate macular degeneration, which we absolutely don't want. And the amazing thing is that people go out of their way to slather themselves with sunscreen and make sure we don't get a burn or cancer or any of that. But then we'll go outside with naked eyes and be exposed to them all the time. And the crazy thing is that the majority of UV exposure can actually happen before the age of 18.
I'm hating it. I would lay on a roof with baby oil on a metal.
Absolutely.
To get the best sunshine. And
nobody wanted raccoon eyes because that's bad. That's bad. So
also, I have blue eyes.
Yes, exactly. Oh, no. And you probably put a little iodine on.
Oh, I did it all.
And you laid on a little foil blanket.
Yeah,
so we not only get direct but reflected.
I did it all, baby. I wanted to have
tanning beds. Yeah. How many times did people go lay in a tanning bed and say, "Oh, I can't have those raccoon eyes. I'm just not going to wear my goggles.
Yeah.
I'll just get the sun to my." And all of that exposure is not good for our eyes.
You said one of the first things you did with your own daughter was put sunglasses on her.
Absolutely.
Like from the time she was
absolutely
my
daughter wore sunglasses from the time she was little, and people would say, "Oh, that's so cute. She's an optometrist's daughter. You're making her wear sunglasses."
It's like, yes,
well,
take notes.
Yeah, it was a cute fashion statement, but I'm trying to protect her from having, because like myself, and I'm sorry, baby, my daughter is as white as the driven snow.
That's awesome.
And
I
so
love to see
she literally has, pale complexion and strawberry blonde hair and light blue eyes. And so as soon as she got here, I'm like, oh, I have to protect those baby blues. So yeah, she was in sunglasses from the beginning.
That's amazing. Well, Shirley, I just saw that you have macular degeneration, and you didn't know that there were ways to protect your eyes from developing that. So you probably too were on a roof with No sunglasses.
Very, very well could have happened.
But, and also smoking, like you said, all of the things that,
Yes.
Gosh, and also
Yes.
working bingo. Remember all those?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Working
You talk about
bingo,
secondhand smoke exposure.
Then when they
that was
cut
like off the charts.
Oh my gosh. I
So-
mean, it was secondhand smoke. That's
Absolutely.
bad too in the eyes. Yeah.
And the negative is that we know that there's a genetic component. Yes, she was an
I
an
know
80s
she
baby.
was.
Sorry, Shirley. Yeah. So literally, genetically, there is a component that macular degeneration runs in families. And so I am always educating patients that, if I'm seeing a patient who I know has macular degeneration, you need to inform your children and your grandchildren that you
Yes.
have this condition. You need to encourage them not to smoke. You need to encourage them to wear sunglasses. You need to encourage them to make sure that they're eating antioxidants and protecting their retina. And there are actually vitamins that we have that can help protect that.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, like a lot of conditions, genetics wins out. So we can't 100% guarantee that you're not going to get it when you have the genetics in your family. But our goal is that we do everything within our power to try to prevent that. And we do have some treatments available now that we did not have when I started practice 28 years ago. So we are making developments in that, but unfortunately, we just do not have a cure. Now, again, with AI and some stem cell, situations, they are working diligently all the time to try to come up with new developments to help that. But we do not have any
I will tell
cure.
you this. You can take things for granted. Like my
Thank
mother,
you, Shirley.
eyesight. I cannot imagine not having vision. And it upsets me so much when you see
Absolutely.
someone that loses their eyesight or they've
Absolutely.
never had the beautiful opportunity to see, right?
Absolutely.
So when I hurt just even one eye, I was like, this is terrifying. It's
Absolutely.
scary that if this stays like that and I can't see out of that eye, that was terrifying. So we have to
Absolutely.
take care of our eyes. I know I have a lot more questions for you,
Okay.
but I wanted you to mention a story that you told me without names, of course. You didn't tell me their name either, but like how you've had people come in and you've told them wear safety goggles. Maybe they already have eye issues. Maybe something's already wrong with one eye. Can you imagine not being able to already see out of one eye
Absolutely.
and then having to protect this eye in order? I mean, can
Absolutely.
you share anything like that?
Well, that's a conversation that we end up having a lot of times throughout the day, because patients can unfortunately become what we call monocular, meaning they only have one functioning eye. And that can be due to an injury previously. That can be from birth. Sometimes you can have conditions that affect your eye from birth, and so you aren't able to see out of one eye. To the fact that you could have had situations that I had one gentleman. I think that's the conversation that we had. He had an injury to one of his eyes, and we had a very long conversation. And I tell all my patients who are monocular, you need to wear glasses. Even if you see perfectly fine out of that one eye, you still need to wear glasses for the protection factor. Because somebody could just simply throw something across the room thinking that's funny, and you could potentially lose your good eye. So I had a conversation with a gentleman regarding that, and he basically was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I've lived my life with one eye. I know what I'm doing, kind of thing. And unfortunately, about a year or two after that conversation was had, he went to work and was cutting banding off of a box, and he snipped the banding, and that flapped back and hit him right in the eye.
His good eye?
Damaged his good eye. And so had he just been wearing a pair of glasses, any pair of glasses, it would have at least given him enough protection to be a barrier between that accident that, nobody could have predicted it was going to happen.
Yeah. So
you kind of have to be in the mode all the time that I have one good eye. I'm going to absolutely protect it with everything that I can. So, I tell patients often that it's not just people who have one eye that need to wear safety glasses and protection.
Yeah.
You should be wearing safety glasses when you're certainly doing anything that's considered dangerous. But there's other times that you wouldn't think it would be dangerous, and it can be. So an example, 4th of July fireworks. We all just experienced that. And most people don't know it, but those little sparklers that you hold and you have your kids out there playing and doing all the things, they burn at 900 degrees Fahrenheit putting off those sparklers. If that would actually flip into their eye and burn their eye, extremely dangerous and potentially scarring. So those are some of the things people may not think about. Welders, of course, are very much at risk for having eye issues. So you should always be welding with your mask on.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the injuries we'll see are, I just peeked up for a second. I just lifted it for a second. A second's all it takes for something like that to have an issue. But common things you do around the house that you should be wearing safety protection, and this is one that a lot of people don't think about, mowing and weed eating.
Okay, so if my sister is still on here, remember you used to make fun of David because he would wear his goggles when he was weed whacking and stuff, and Vicky's like, safety Dave.
Safety Dave,
and like, that's really, it can save you. So
Absolutely.
Is that a common thing that people come in, like they've got grass in their eye?
It is. They got grass in their eye, or the one that's more concerning is a rock that came off of that weed eater that they obviously weren't expecting that to happen. And absolutely that can happen. So
even just sunglasses while you're mowing.
Absolutely.
I mean, that
absolutely.
Can be a
some sort of barrier protection, but certainly if you're having,
Trisha, good for you, girl.
So if it's something that's dangerous, you want actual safety goggles or safety glasses. And they make those all the time, and they make them more stylish every day. But hey, Julie.
Julie is an employee.
Yes.
At Haller.
Yes.
I want to see this. This is a great question. Shirley was asking about rubbing your eyes, like waking up, or if they're itchy.
It's an excellent question. And what I tell patients every day is the only thing that I will allow you to put in your eye is your elbow.
Okay.
And that's because you can't do that. So rubbing your eyes is actually very damaging to your eyes on a lot of different levels. In fact, there are conditions that can be worsened by rubbing your eyes. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that I can see them doing it. And I call them my figure eighters, because not only they just rub, but they put their hands like this, fists, and they make a figure eight. Like, and I'm like,
is that so difficult for you when you're out and about and you see people doing things that you just want to say, wear safety goggles when you're driving down the street and they're mowing?
Safety.
Stop rubbing your eyes.
Right. Stop rubbing your eyes. It's one of those things that, yes, when you see it, I certainly cringe, and I usually can't really step in and say something to them. But if I see somebody doing something that's incredibly dangerous, and I think that it is a danger to their eye health, I absolutely will step in and say, I just want to let you know that that's probably not the best thing to be doing. You can really cause damage to your eyes that way. Mm-hmm. So I don't see it a lot out and about, but there are times that, yes, it's very hard for me to watch.
I bet.
Knowing that, I just think that sight is such a precious gift.
Oh, it is such a precious gift.
And
if anybody
I don't want anybody taking it for granted. And when you have an issue, it really brings to the forefront. So
if someone has itchy eyes, their eyes are itching and they want to rub them, what to do?
Sure. So
what to do?
What do you do? So one of the best things that you can do when your eyes are itchy is cold compresses. So a lot of that is, I would make sure that if you have chronic itching eyes, you get evaluated with an eye doctor, because there's more than one situation that can cause your eyes to itch. And so some of it is itching due to allergy. One of the most common things that we see, because we were talking about that in different populations, is dry eye. And dry eye actually can cause a lot of itching.
Mm-hmm, that makes sense.
And so you really need to be evaluated to determine what is the cause of the itching that wants you to make your eyes want to make them rubbed. Or is it something that needs to be treated along the allergy front? Or is it something that needs to be treated along the dry eye front? And what I find often, and I'm telling you often, yes, what I find is that people will come in and say, well, I have allergies. And I'll say, okay, so you've been evaluated for that? No, I know that's what I have. And so I've been taking allergy tablets to fix my allergy eyes, but they're not any better. And then I look at them and they don't have allergies. They have very dry eyes, and taking the allergy tablet has actually made their dry eye worse. So those are the things that you need to be evaluated if you chronically have itchy eyes. But if you are truly certain that that's what it is, or you have been evaluated and your family doctor says you have allergies and you're having allergy issues, then there are medications that can be prescribed to help you so that you don't want to itch and rub your eyes. And then if they're truly an allergy situation, a cold compress works. But if it's a dry eye, a warm compress is better. That's why you kind of want to figure out which one it is and then get the proper treatment so that you don't want to rub your eyes.
Well, and the other part of this is if you're at work, you can't put a cold compress on your face. So once you know what you have, address it. So you're either on medication or the drops or something that they will need. If you know what you need, you can stop itching your eyeballs.
That's right.
So when David comes in October, he's one of those figure eighters.
Is he a figure eighter?
He kind of is, yeah.
Dave.
So,
okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
She's the best.
And I see that Julie says that we're making her Miss World. She's on vacation.
Yeah, I've been seeing her pictures and it's they are like the bubbling brooks. And I mean, like the nature is so pretty, Julie.
Yes, they are one with nature.
Okay, so here's another, debunk this for us, okay? There's all the hullabaloo about blue light blocking glasses. Does that really work or is it hype?
So it's an excellent question. And actually, there's still a lot of research being done about this. We are not going to know the extent of how bad computer use is. I mean, we're already seeing it because obviously people are doing jobs now that we never thought we're going to have to rely on computers, and we're relying on computers. And so there has been a lot of research in this area to find out what is that blue light exposure doing. And there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But what I can tell you is that some blue light is actually good for our eyes because it helps regulate our sleep cycle. And so you do want a little bit of blue light. So we don't want anything that blocks the blue light 100% or it can mess with the sleep cycle. Or
at least you don't want the blue light during the day hours. But maybe if you have to
and we don't want it in excessive.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I don't know if most of you have heard this, but they say you should actually get off of your computer for at least an hour or more before you go to bed at night. And that's because if you have all that excess blue light exposure, then it might be difficult for you to fall asleep because you're messing with your natural sleep cycle. So we know that kids being on computers and staring at screens all the time is probably going to cause a whole lot of issues. And we know that that blue light can affect it much in the way that UV can affect it. But there are lenses out there that will filter some of the blue light.
Okay.
But I caution people about getting them from a reliable source.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because, like anything, when word hits media that, ooh, I can make blue light glasses and sell blue light glasses and make a lot of money, you may be buying blue light lenses online or at some place where somebody is trying to make money, and there's absolutely nothing in there of blue light protection. But most eye doctors will put blue light protection to some degree and some level in the majority of our ophthalmic lenses because we want to protect people's eyes from the excessive use of computers and devices that we're doing now because everybody's doing it.
I was going to ask you too about, we've already talked about there's no exercises to make your eyes not become farsighted or nearsighted, but are there exercises or habits that can help reduce digital eye strain?
There are. One of the most common ones that we use is what we call the 20-20-20 rule. And what happens is that people get on their computer and stare, and they do not take a break and look away from that computer. So you can actually get into spasms. You can have a lot of what we call computer vision syndrome and computer strain. And so as a result, you can actually be causing your eyes to fatigue, become more dry, be irritated, and have other issues because of long-term use of the computer. Okay. So what we say in the 20-20-20 rule is that for every 20 minutes that you are on a computer or digital device, phone, whatever, you should take a break and look at least 20 feet away for usually 20 minutes, if possible, at least for a couple minutes, because we want you to let your eyes get out of that 18-inch world and relax and stop focusing and look far away. And in fact, we know that children who are nearsighted, when they spend more time on digital devices, become more nearsighted. So we were talking about developments in my career. There has been a huge wave in our profession that anyone who is nearsighted, which is those people who cannot see far away, that's called myopia. And there is a huge movement called myopia control that as eye doctors, we are trying to get to where we can make it that the child's vision doesn't get significantly worse year after year after year. And so there are things that we can do to control their myopia. And one of those things is that we encourage kids to be outside playing, whether it's swimming, sports, biking, running, jogging, or just playing kickball in the yard. We need to get them off of the digital devices so that their eyes can relax and that they can have healthier eyes over the course of their lifetime, because we're all going to be using them, and it just happens more and more.
Oh, yeah.
More and more all the time. Kids are doing homework on them. Kids are having school in there. We are all staring at computer devices all the time. So there are lenses that we can give to help with the computer use that help relax that digital strain. And so that's one of the things that we've developed in the last several years as a optometry community, is trying to figure out what can we do to make people's eyes safer on the computers.
I wanted to know this.
Hi, Jules.
Hi, Julie. When should someone not ignore eye symptoms? Like, what are some red flags that someone may have that people typically might ignore?
So one of the things is I always tell patients that if you ever have a loss of vision, I don't care how mild it is, that is not something you should ever ignore.
So
that is
what
an
do you
immediate
mean,
phone call.
like can't see, or like coming in like tunnel, or like
either way?
Okay.
If your vision as you know it starts to have an area that you can't see through or around, or you have a very dark shade that comes down over your vision, or all of a sudden you start to tunnel vision and you are losing vision, that is an immediate call to the eye doctor. Something significant is going on, and that's not something you should say, I'll just give this a couple minutes, couple hours and see if this disappears. You should call immediately.
Okay.
Sudden onset of double vision. We will commonly get a phone call to the office and the patient will say, I think I need to come and see Dr. Haller because I woke up this morning and I have double vision. That's actually not a call to Dr. Haller. That is an immediate call or visit to the emergency room or the family doctor, because sudden onset of double vision can actually be a stroke.
Oh my gosh.
And so if you would ever out of nowhere have double vision, and I'm not talking that you get a little shadow that you can kind of blink and it clears up. I'm talking you have two images that are double. If that happens, that's an immediate call.
Wow. Thank you for telling us.
Absolutely.
That. Wow. I didn't know that. I had never even heard of that.
Yep. Absolutely. So,
and then also like behind the eye pain, like the pain that my niece was having, what is that? She never did say what it was.
So there's a lot of things that can cause pain in the eye. And I often tell people, when you call the eye doctor's office, I don't think that any eye symptom should be ignored. I mean, we get one set of eyes, we want to take care of them. So if you have pain that's unusual that you've never felt before, that's absolutely a phone call to the eye doctor. And we look into several different things. We want to know the quality of the pain. How long have you had it? Where is it located? Is it the front of the eye, the back of the eye? Is your eye aching like a bruise or feel sharp like you're jabbed by a pin? There's a lot of different things that we quantify and qualify when you call, so that we can figure out exactly what is the source of that problem and how quickly do we need to get you in. Is it something that needs to be seen later that day, that week, that month, or is it something that needs to be addressed absolutely that second? So,
okay. Wow. So, how often should one make an eye appointment for checkups?
So the majority of people should have their eyes examined once every 2 years if they are healthy, have no eye issues, eye problems, until up to the age. Now, children birth to age 18 should have one every year. 18 to age 55 should have them every 2 years, as long as there's no medical conditions that need monitored or followed up, and that they're seeing well and not experiencing vision changes. Over the age of 55, we're back to once a year, because that's when we start to see eye diseases develop.
Okay.
And so that's a good general guideline, is that once a year from birth to 18, every 2, possibly every year, depending on what you've experienced. Contact lens wear need to be checked every year. And then once you get to be over the age of 55, back to once a year again as well.
Wow. All right. So before I ask the last, well, what is the most unusual thing you've ever discovered when someone came in? Can you think of that? Like what you just thought, oh, this is just a checkup, or someone came in with eye pain, something you've discovered that was the most unusual?
So it's happened, unfortunately, on multiple occasions. I had a patient that just came in and said that they did not feel that they were seeing very well, and they were having a little bit of an issue, just kind of seeing things off to one side of one eye. And so we ran a visual field on them, and it showed a very typical pattern of loss of both sides. The patient hadn't noticed on this side of the left eye, but they had noticed it on this side of the right eye. And when you see that pattern, unfortunately, it can often be a symptom of a pituitary brain tumor. And that's exactly what this patient had.
Oh, no.
Now, the positive side of it was, because we could identify it with the visual field, we can make a copy of that. We can send it immediately to neurology and get the patient addressed quickly. They were able to confirm that that's what it was. The patient was able to have the surgery to remove it. It was fortunately a very benign brain tumor, and everything was perfectly fine. But those are some of the things that we just don't see on an everyday basis. But when we do see them, it's an immediate, referral. And I will say that we work in a community of amazing doctors. And kudos to all my doctor friends out there. I love you all. Yes. You are also wonderful at sending patients to me and the other eye doctors here in Chillicothe to work together so that we can help people fix issues. When I have an eye problem that I'm concerned that it's a systemic issue, I call my doctor friends and say, this is what we've got going on. I need you to work on this systemically for me. And they do the same to me. When they see a systemic condition that they're like, oh my gosh, I think this is an issue with the eyes, they'll send them to me. And a good example of that, and I get a lot of calls about this regularly, hi Billy, is that literally shingles, that virus that can break out on your skin, can actually go to the eye.
Oh, no.
So I get often calls about people who the doctor has seen them and they've identified that the patient has shingles. And then we need to make sure, is this going to the eye? And do we need to do things to fix the eye? Wow. So it's incredible, the stuff that we see. Wow. And kudos to the doctors that we're all working together as one big family to try to help treat that. So,
yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I believe it. I want to ask you, is there anything that you would like to share that I have not asked you already? I can't believe this almost hour has flown by. You're just so informative and educational, and she explains things so those of us who aren't optometrists can understand. So I so appreciate you. Wow. Is there anything you'd like to share that I haven't asked?
I'll share a couple of quick updates of things that are coming out in the eye world, and then something that's happening here in Ross County. Okay.
Oh, good.
So the first thing I will tell you is that there are advances in eyewear technology, and we call those glasses basically. But now we are embedding technology in those glasses, including there are new eyeglasses that now have hearing capabilities in the temples. Now, these are not for people who have advanced hearing loss, but for people who have a certain tone or have issues in crowded rooms, we now have the ability to do eyeglasses that help with hearing in the glasses. And so it's going to amplify the person that you're talking to. They have a directionality to them and kind of muffle the noise around it to try to help with people who have difficulty hearing. So that's one of the advancement we have, and that's coming. And not to step on the toes of our audiologists and hearing specialists that do the hearing aids. They're all phenomenal. Yeah. And we love you all. And we're not trying to do any of that. But for a lot of patients, hearing aids can be difficult, or they've got their glasses on there. They've got their hearing aids on there. Back in COVID, we had masks on there. I mean, people's poor ears were holding everything. Yeah. And so a lot of that has turned now into how can we combine technologies and help? So that's an exciting thing that's coming down the way, as are, if you haven't heard of them, the Meta glasses are going to be fantastic. And they actually have cameras embedded to the front. hearing capabilities in the back. You're going to be able to touch the side of the glasses and say, please video this for me. Meta, video
like
this.
The Jetsons is
Absolutely.
really the truth right
Absolutely.
now, girls.
So all of these things are coming down the road. It's going to be exciting. It's amazing. It's one of the things I love about my profession is that it's constantly changing and evolving and getting new things. And then what's happening in Chillicothe, which is going to be absolutely fantastic, is that myself and some other doctors were talking about a year and a half ago about the fact that many children in schools cannot get to the eye doctors. And be that mom and dad are working, or that we don't have transportation capabilities, or those kind of things. So we applied for a grant through the state of Ohio to be able to start doing eye exams on the children in the schools of our Ross County school systems.
Nice. You know what? I think when I was a kid, they used to do eye exams.
So they would do school screenings.
That's
and
it.
So that was very common. And
they don't do
kudos
that anymore,
to all of our school nurses. They still do them. And it's done by way of the school nurses kind of trying to identify big things.
Extra work on them too.
It is a lot of extra work on them. And we want them to be able to have full comprehensive eye exams where we can get in there and actually see their retinas.
Yeah.
And the school nurses don't have that capability.
They don't, yeah.
And where we want to be able to check the functionality of those eye muscles like we talked about to make sure that they're able to read.
Wow, that is
so
great information.
The grant came through and we are starting to pilot that program this fall. And we're going into the school systems, and we're going to start with the children who fail their school screenings by our school nurses, that we can start doing that and being able to give them full eye exams and be able to give them glasses that are going to help them be able to see in school and help them learn better and do better. And so we're going to start doing that in the Ross County school systems. We got 3 schools that we're piloting. And once we get it up and running and functional and we see how well it's working, our goal is to be able to do it in every Ross County school.
Wow, what a blessing. That's really great.
Yep.
And kudos to you guys for applying for grants, because that's no simple thing either.
Absolutely.
I know I've done that before. Okay, so to end this, which I don't want it to, but it's got to it sometimes. The question I ask everyone usually is off the subject of vision, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
In your life, what have you found, since the show is Find It?
Find it.
What have you found in your life that has inspired you that you can share with us to help inspire us also?
I have found that no matter who you are or where you are, you can always do something small that makes a huge impact in this world.
God, that gave me chills, Patty. Oh God, I love that. That was so beautifully said, though. It really is.
I just think that if everybody in this world tries to do something small that matters to someone else, then the impact and the ripple effect of that is not only felt in your workspace, in your family, in your community, and in your world. That when you can do something small, I really feel like that makes a huge impact on people.
And I think you're right. And I think so many people don't think that that they have anything to contribute.
Right.
But like you're saying, it can be something that you don't even, it could be the opening the door for someone and looking at them and saying, have a good day.
Absolutely.
That just
smiling.
I know. It's the small things that really add up that mean so much. So I appreciate you saying that. So with that, y'all, we have found out a lot about vision. We found a lot about life.
More than you ever wanted to know. Sorry.
All the new stuff. No, I love this. Oh, I got to make clips of this. You preach this. So true. I felt that. Oh, me too, Billy. Me too, girl. So, this was a great start back to Find It. Let me tell you, I've enjoyed this so much. So
and kudos to Miss Debbie for doing this and putting this out there and for all she does in our community. This woman shares her heart, is one of the most generous women that I know. And I absolutely love her. I know you all do too.
I love
and so we appreciate you guys tuning in to hear us. So.
And you know what I've learned? I'm learning. I received that. I'm not going to block that.
That a girl.
Okay.
That a girl.
So I received it. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, we have a love fest. We didn't play Spin the Bottle yet, but we're doing all the other 80s stuff. So anyway, have a great evening, and hopefully I will see you again very soon. Have a great night, y'all. Bye.
Thanks for coming.
That floats around me, keeping me